Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. All members are present. Approval of the agenda. Is there any changes to the agenda? Council have any changes? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the October 1st, 2025 regular meeting. Is there any changes or clarification needed within those minutes that were in your packet? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 1st?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Oh, abstain, sorry.
One abstain, okay. 4 in favor, none against, 1 abstention. This now brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Call a third time. Is there anyone that would like to speak to the council? Having no one, our public open forum is now closed. We do not have any public hearings. We'll move on to reports and presentations. Joe?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. If you look in your packet, you got the September 2025 Police Department activity. Dropped below that 1,000 mark, which is expected at the end of the summer. Some of the highlights there: 24 agency assists, 10 alarms, including 7 more fire alarms. I looked, most of those are at the same 2 places those fire alarms have been. 5 intoxicated person calls, 9 juvenile problems, which they're gonna keep climbing through school year. We're getting a few more juvenile problem calls with just assisting up at the school, along with human service reports are gonna crawl up a little bit too, because things are getting reported to staff at the schools. If you look, 12 crashes, 2 with injuries, 10 with no injuries. Some of those include, majority of those include fender bender parking lot crashes, not on the street. 6 of them were at the school, so kids going back to school, running their parents' cars and stuff. Other than that, nothing too crazy. 7 thefts. Of those 7, we charged out 6 of them. We're still working on 1, but so all those theft reports we're getting, we're charging people, we're solving them. We're just, some of them take a little bit longer than others. 374 for traffic stops, 250 for patrols. We also wrapped up, we got our fall firearms qualification shoot in over the month too, so that we're good to go there for the year. Other than that, it's been kind of it's the everyday stuff, nothing too crazy.
Okay. Any questions, concerns?
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you, Joe. Public Works Department, Ben?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This past month, the plow trucks received their annual service and DOT inspections. They have the plows and all their snow gear installed for the winter season, so they're ready. We picked up our supply of winter cold mix tar for any patching that may be needed over the winter, so that's stored in our shed. Pothole patching, we did do a few spots on the north end of town to finish up those areas. We poured the concrete steps on 7th Street by Our Lady of Angel Church, and then we put the temporary railing in there to be utilized for the winter. At the airport, we did assist with some site prep work and electrical line locating for the new hangar building that's being built. They're just getting going on that, getting the site work done now. We replaced the circuit board on the runway approach lights, so those are back up and running and working properly. Park bathrooms and sprinklers, those were all blown out and winterized for the year. The campground is shut down for the year with the bathrooms being winterized. We do have some trees to be removed over the winter before spring comes around. Up at the arena, the building was switched over from summer use to winter use. The boards and glass were installed and cleaned. The rubber flooring around the boards is all installed. The ice is going in this week with practices starting on Monday. So the ice in process is going well. We did run into an issue with the R22 coolant system. We had preventive maintenance being done by Ring Tech last week. It was found that over the summer, we had a leak occur in one of the sensors of the outdoor cooling unit. The system is under pressure at all times and forced the R22 out of the system. Our system does hold approximately 270 pounds of R22 coolant. We were able to get enough R22 that day and get the system back up and running before the weekend so that we would be able to continue the floor and be ready for ice installation this past Monday. So everything got fixed. We were able to source that R22 in Alexandria, and we purchased it at a reduced price, which helped keep the bill much lower than it has been in the past when this is happened. The Hockey Association, they did generously step in to cover the payment of the repair bills for this. The cost is going to be about $8,900 for everything when it's all said and done. So I do appreciate the association being willing to help with this. Everyone on that board is very committed to the sport and wants to help any way possible to keep that building up and running and for the kids to play hockey. So do appreciate them being willing to do that. Over the winter, we're certainly going to be looking at options for this system moving forward. As the system ages, we're just experiencing more breakdowns similar to this, but it's not unexpected. It does happen with a system of this age, but we'll do what we can to prevent anything and see what we can make a plan for going forward. Are there any questions I can answer?
Questions?
Just a quick question. How long is that system? How long have we had that particular system?
30 years now.
30 now?
Yep.
Okay.
Any other questions, concerns? Thank you, Ben. Ambulance Department Quarterly Report. Kathy?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For third quarter, July, we had a total of 92 runs, calls, and activities. Of those, 27 were no-loads, 29 were BLS transfers, 9 ALS transfers, and 7 of the medicals were billed out as ALS. So of the 92, 65 of those calls were billable for a total of $96,642. In August, we had a total of 95 runs and calls, 32 no-loads, 18 were BLS transfers, 7 were ALS transfers, and 4 of those were ALS medicals. And of the 63 billable calls for August, it totaled 86,121. September, we had 84 total runs and calls. 21 were no loads, 22 BLS transfers, 7 ALS transfers, and then 5 of those were ALS medicals. So we billed 63 calls out in September for a total of 86,659. So last year at this point, we were at 753 total runs, calls, activities for the year, and we're at 793 at this time this year, so we're just slightly higher than where we were last year at the end of September. The majority of our no loads continue to be for lift assists, falls, and motor vehicle crashes. And the majority of our transfers are going to St. Cloud, but you can see on that ongoing list I have where all the transfers are going throughout the state. For special details and events for the third quarter, we had the West Union Parade, St. Clair Lewis Days Parade, night to night, Stearns County Fair, which generated 5 fair booth contacts, 3 demolition derbies. We had 2 contacts at the demolition derbies that we didn't transport. We had a motocross event, and then we had 2 fair contacts for medical reasons where we dealt with patients at the fair but did not have to transport. But that generates reports on our end. We did Career One Kids, that's where we go into the school, and we talk to the kids about EMS, what it's like to be on the ambulance. We show them a quick demonstration of CPR, do a little first aid info with them, do rig tours and equipment demonstrations, just so they kind of understand what we're doing out there in the field, try and spark their interest in the ambulance world. We did a PR event, the Safety in the Park in El Rosa. And we had a daycare family come in and do a tour of the garage and rigs. CPR in the schools for the healthcare class we did. Active shooter training in Osakis. And we did 2 football game standbys at the school. For third quarter mutual aid, we did 4 ALS transfers for Melrose, 1 mutual aid medical for Melrose. For Long Prairie EMS, we responded to 2 crashes to help them with multiple victims, and we did 1 mutual aid BLS transfer for them. And then for North Ambulance Mutual Aid, we did 3 medical calls, and then 1 mutual aid BLS transfer for North. And third quarter for different hospitals we took our own medicals to was Melrose, we took 2, and Long Prairie, we took 1. Otherwise, all our 911 medicals we brought into Sauk Center Hospital. Our new rig arrived at the end of September. We got it stocked the very same day. I had the application into the Office of Emergency Medical Services, so we got our temporary license the same day, so that's in the rig. We just had to wait a few days for Gillis to be able to come and put the striping on for us to make us legal. We have to have our name on the rig, so we had to wait for that, but I think he came like 2 or 3 days later, got that all done, so we've had it out on a few runs already. So that's going good. That's what I have. Any questions for me?
Questions, concerns? Keep up the good work. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
City engineer report. Looks like Vicki gets to handle that.
A couple items on the city engineer report. On the South Industrial Park, the roadway repair was completed last Friday. The non-wear bituminous course and subgrade were in good shape, solid and undamaged. The issue was the delamination between the wear course and the non-wear course. This was due to the lack of, there was no tack oil applied before the wear course paving. They suspect the distributor momentarily quit and they didn't catch it. So what happened is they peeled that top layer off, and then there was just a little skim left on there that they could just shovel off. So it just was delaminated, and as the trucks drove on it, it moved it enough. And it's a good thing we caught it early, then it was still under warranty, and we were able to get it repaired at no charge. On the Canna Avenue and Tractor Trail, project is complete. There's only a couple of things left. They're gonna put permanent barriers at the end of Tractor Trail, so people won't drive off the end into the field. And then we need to paint the stop bar at the stop sign going out onto 12th Street. Otherwise, that one is complete. On the Trunk Highway 71 feasibility report, the topographic surveys are almost all done, except for the east end of the bypass road. We still have some more surveying to do down there. And then also they're going to measure the manholes, how deep the manholes all are. They'll do that in the field just for their reference. And then, so they are starting on design now. So we should be knowing a little bit more toward our feasibility report and what our costs will be, so we can determine how many of these side roads we're going to be able to include in the project. On the 2025 capital improvement project, a lot of progress last week. The concrete walk, all the straight ones are primarily done. That can be done with the machine. There was a second crew that had come in. Pine Street from 4th to 5th and the south side of 7th Street to Main to Pine, that still has to be done. And that was something because there's obstructions and stuff that they have to wait for. And also they were against retaining walls, and those have to be hand done. They can't do those with the machine. And they were doing some repairs to retaining walls before they were going to put that in. The driveway and private walks from 6th Street to South are pretty much all complete, but there are some, what's left really is a lot of the corners and the driveway aprons. And they said at the current rate, they feel that they will get those complete yet before the end of the year. If you've been out there all know, you do know that there's a lot of dirt work being done right now. So that'll be done. And as Ben stated, they did get our crew put the steps in at Ola and that temporary walk, and then the crew came in and put the dirt in and some hydroseed on the dirt there. Next spring, of course, you know, that top sidewalk has to come out because that's what failed the strength test, and then that'll all be reconfigured in its final stage. But it's done for the winter right now. And Right now, then, they just have some work to do with the irons out in the bituminous, otherwise the roadway itself is pretty much complete, so. And then as soon as the black dirt goes in, then the streetlights will go up. All the stop signs, street signs, everything are down in the shop waiting to be put up, so we're just waiting for the restoration to get a little further along before they go put those in, so. If you have any questions on any of that, I can attempt to answer it, otherwise, I know there was some questions about the distance of sidewalks from the curb, and that all has to do with grade and obstructions. So,
Right. I did have a few phone calls on, if you drive down like Birch Street and Sixth Street, there's quite a gap from the back of the sidewalk to the curb, almost like 8 feet. So some people are questioning why there's such a wide boulevard in those areas, and it's because of grading, and not every street in that whole area was the same width from block to block, so. Any other questions, concerns? And we'll move on to action items. 7A, approve resolution 2025-95 authorizing MnDOT grant A 7310-47.
So the city council previously authorized the execution of the grant materials for the FAA federal portion of the box hangar grant. That was 2 grants for the federal portion. Now tonight in front of you, I have the 2 grants for the state portion, which are much smaller, but still important. The total MnDOT aeronautics share of the first portion of the grant is $9,703.88. This is the same amount that's our local share, so that's how much we would contribute toward that project. So this resolution authorizes execution of the grant agreement, Resolution 2025-95, approving the state airport grant agreement for the box hangar.
Questions, concerns? Otherwise, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-95?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
I'll second. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Second by Joe. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve resolution 2025-96, authorizing MnDOT grant A 7310-48.
And this is the second of the companion grants for MnDOT for that box hangar. This grant is for $15,394.74. So that is, that's 2.5% of the project, and then the local share is that same amount at 2.5%. So it's resolution 2025-96, approving the state airport grant agreement.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-96?
So,
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve resolution 2025-97, certifying assessment tractor trail.
So the owner of the acreage where we constructed Tractor Trail has signed this waiver of assessment and appeal, which allows us to certify the unpaid balance to taxes. The assessment will initially be deferred, but will be collected in full at the time the property is sold in full or in part. Tractor Supply has paid their share of the improvement, the balance to be assessed against the remainder property, $43,928.
Comments, concerns? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve resolution 2025-97?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joel, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Any other discussion or questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2025-98, authorizing purchase of stair chair.
So the ambulance director, Strufert, she submitted the following request to purchase an electric stair chair. She states, we are requesting to purchase a Stryker Expedition electric stair chair with some of the funds we received from the state with the emergency state aid ambulance funding. This is a great opportunity to upgrade one of our stair chairs to the electric style that will help with the safety of the crew when needing to bring a patient up and down the stairs. We only received one quote from the electric style chair, which is the one attached from Stryker. One of our paramedics works with a service that uses the Furnace-style electric stair chair, and after meeting with the representative and getting a demonstration of the Stryker style, he indicates that the Stryker is much more user-friendly and he would not recommend the other Furno style. The quote we received was for $15,168.65. They'll take a trade of our non-electric chair of $1,500, so the balance for the new chair will be $13,858.26. And that's in front of you, Resolution 2025-98, accepting that quote for that stair chair.
Questions, comments?
The funding's coming directly out of the ambulance budget. They got funds to cover this.
Yes, they did get some state aid money for ambulances, and so that's what will be allocated toward that.
Any other questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-98?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Scott, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. More discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve Resolution 2025-99, authorizing remodel contract.
So the ambulance department is requesting to make some upgrades to the building for storage purposes, along with others, but they're framing out some different rooms, and what that is the upper level. So they did get 2 different quotes. One was, they were for materials, labor, plumbing, and electric, and then a total. Castruba Contracting had a total of $14,879.27. Eisenbart was $14,131. However, the Eisenbart bid does not include the plumbing and electrical. So that was $3,400 of the Castruba bid. So that makes Castruba the lower bid. So we're looking to approve Resolution 2025-99, accepting quote for the ambulance building remodel to Castruba Contracting.
Questions, concerns?
Remind me, is this something we had planned for the budget and we're anticipating for this year?
It has been kind of in the long-range plan.
Okay.
It wasn't specifically called out in the capital improvement plan because it's under that threshold.
Okay. I just didn't recall if we had talked about it ahead of this.
Okay. Any other questions or
And
concerns?
And so again, the funding for this is
For
just,
the ambulance, all from the
just
ambulance.
general budget.
Straight ambulance budget.
One thing about the ambulance is pretty much self-sufficient, so if they don't have the money, they usually don't ask, so. Any other questions or concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-99?
So moved.
Motion by Brad. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joel. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approve Resolution 2025-100, approving sale of forfeited vehicle.
The Stearns County Attorney's Office released this to the city, a 2010 Subaru Outback through the forfeiture process. We did offer the vehicle for sale through the State of Minnesota Online Auction Service MinBid. We did receive a bid of $4,585 for that vehicle. So we're looking to approve Resolution 2025-100, accepting the bid and authorizing the sale of the forfeited vehicle.
Questions? Concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-100?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7G, approve Resolution 2025-101, authorizing execution of closing documents.
So we did get another purchase agreement for the sale of Lot 2, Block 3 of Authors Edition. We do need the resolution authorizing the execution of the closing documents. That's Resolution 2025-101.
Questions, concerns? Do I have a motion to approve Resolution 2025-101?
So moved.
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Last minute discussion. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7H, approve ordinance 851 modifying winter parking restrictions.
So at the October 1 council meeting, the council requested that the winter parking ordinance be brought up for review, which might include a potential change to calendar parking, also known as odd even. So the current city code under restricted winter parking states, persons must not park vehicles between 12 midnight and 7 a.m. on all streets except those designated as the congested district whereby parking is restricted year-round from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And the proposal, if adopted, would say persons must park according to the following. Odd day parking will only be permitted on the odd side of the street, and even day parking will only be permitted on the even side of the street from 12 midnight to 7 a.m., except those designated as the congested district whereby parking is restricted year-round from 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. And there may also be some other areas that would need to also be included in that restriction. That ordinance is in front of you if you choose to adopt it. I know there's probably going to be some discussion on that, and I think Ben has some information for you as well.
Okay. I had Ben go through some figures based on if we just leave this alone, leave it no parking, compared to the calendar odd even parking, what it was going to cost us extra per year if we do that. And one idea I found out that was out there was we just go back to just letting everybody park wherever they want and how much that was going to cost. You got the pros, the cons, the cost in front of you. The one thing talking to Ben about this was the fact that if we would go to the calendar parking, the roads that should maintain no parking for the winter are on this separate sheet. Right now, from Pine Street to Oak Street, there's no parking. It's in that 2 to 7 anyway. But he would be requesting that from East Street all the way to Standard Iron would be no parking, strictly because of snow hauling. Highway 71, and Ben, if I'm misspeaking, let me know, but Highway 71 and Main Street, First Street to Fifth Street would be no parking. Second Street South, that's our road to where we dump in the snow. We can't allow any parking on there because of the trucks meeting. And with the wings on the trucks, it gets a little narrow. 4th Street South, Pine Street to Oak. Ash Street, Sinclair Lewis Avenue to Walmart, be no parking at all. We'd have to, they basically would be the same as our winter parking rule right now. 8th Street, obviously, that's a one-way street. There's no way you're gonna clean that road and sidewalk with anybody parked on it. So there'd be no parking on that road. And then 9th Street, also going to the school, Ash Street to State Road, would be no parking. As we can see on the cost, if we leave it the same, there's no additional costs. For snowfalls less than 12 inches, they can be cleaned up in a normal 8-hour shift. If we would go to calendar parking, you're looking at an extra 1 hour per shift per truck. So you're looking at a $4,500 additional cost on street department. Also, and then if we did the no restrictions, you're looking at a cost of $18,000 additional. The main thing, and everybody knows how I feel about it because I voiced it at the last meeting. But I think we're trying to satisfy 1% of the population.
I disagree.
How many people actually talk to you about this?
Well, at least a dozen that just came and talked to me that know this was on the agenda. You're seeing 1% out of our city population, you're talking,
We're talking, say, 4,600 people.
okay? So you're saying 46 people.
Yep. So we're gonna change the city
Disagree.
rules for 46 people,
I disagree with that.
because I know 46
100%.
people didn't put us in office. They put us in office to represent the whole city. One statement that was made at the last meeting that it's hard to enforce. Talking to Joe, there is not an enforcement problem. The only enforcement problem is on 48-hour parking.
Which
Which is
would
during the
alleviate this
summer.
too, if we go year-round.
If you go year-round.
That would
Yes.
alleviate that issue.
Well, this has been in place for, what, 6 years? 7 years?
The winter parking?
Yeah,
Like 2 to 3, I thought. Oh,
3 or
4.
4?
I think it's been 4.
Either way, we're talking about educating people. Well, every time you change the rules, you gotta re-educate them. And talking to Joe, we haven't ticketed that many people. We haven't hardly towed anybody, because everybody knows that December 1st, it rolls around, they can't park on the street. Yeah, there's snow emergencies. But every time you call a snow emergency, that adds more costs to the street department and to the police department, because now if we call a snow emergency and they don't do it, the police department's gotta go out there and ticket every car, or possibly tow every car that's still sitting on the street. Where with the no parking, it's basically hardly anything. To me, it's just, that just costs more money and more headaches for both departments. In Joe's opinion, and if he wants to, he can come up, but he told me, as far as he was concerned, leave it alone unless we do calendar parking and it goes year-round. And
I
if
have
it
no
doesn't
issues
go
with that.
year-round, the only thing is, but he also told me, it better be for 2 years. Because 4 months down the line, when somebody gets nailed in May or 6 months from now, because they aren't switching their car back and forth every night, and they
It's
come
already
and
a-
telling us,
It's already an ordinance, so you can't park for more than 48 hours anyhow. If they're out there for a day, they're gonna be out there for 2 days, because they're legal one day, not legal the next day. They're probably gonna leave it parked there for that day
I'm
anyhow.
talking to people that park in their campers and their boats and everything on the street.
It would be a good way
And
to
then they
alleviate that.
move, it's a good idea, the way to do it, and I'll agree with that. The only thing is when they all come to you saying, I got a ticket because of this, because I couldn't get it moved, you're gonna have more than 46 people coming to you telling you this is a stupid idea. And then 6 months later, we can't have the council sitting here going, oh, why did we do that? And change it. No, it's gonna be for 2 years. So, the one thing is if you get, say, you get home at 11:30, now we're splitting hairs, but you get home at 11:30, which side of the street do you park on?
You can park on the even side because the restriction don't go in until midnight. Or whatever day that midnight is gonna be, that's what side they'll park on, because the parking restriction doesn't start till midnight.
Okay? How strict are we gonna get with it? Are we actually going to ticket? Are we actually going to toll? Or are we gonna be nice? Because right now with the no winter parking after how many years, these people know they're gonna get ticketed and towed.
Well, same thing here.
Yeah, but we gotta prove it. I just still think that we're trying to satisfy 1% of the population.
Oh, that's your thoughts. I disagree with that. And I contacted 5 cities around central Minnesota and asked them what they do. And out of Melrose, Albany, Glenwood, Long Prairie, and Osakis, and then us, the only other city besides us that uses the no parking from December 1st to April 15th is Osakis. Everybody else is on a snow emergency only. They have no parking restrictions year-round. Melrose, Albany, Glenwood, and Long Prairie have no parking restrictions. You can park wherever you want, whenever you want. And this is kind of a happy medium in between the snow emergency and the no parking. and it works for them. Because I've talked to 2 of the public works directors and 2 of the city clerks from those towns.
One of
They
the
gave
things
me-
that, talked to City of St. Joe, yeah, a little larger than us, but they're a college town, and their population switches 50% every year. And they have absolutely no parking on the streets during the winter, and they don't have a problem with it. How they can rotate 50% of their population because of the college and not have a problem with it, I don't see why Sauk Center can't live with it.
Because we're not St. Joe. We are
We're
a
not
much,
Melrose, we're not Albany.
I understand that, but you're
Okay,
using
then.
an example, I gave an example, so
Okay. Any other comments?
Well, I think we did snow emergency only for a lot of years, up until your change 4 years ago or 5 years ago. And to me, it worked great. It's my own opinion. The costs that are driven here, to some degree, are assumptions, because we don't know exactly how many events per year you're going to have. You might have 3.
that's overnight too. You can't park.
And so, we're averaging it based on, 15 events. So it's hard to judge what the dollars are going to be. And as far as having to run it through summer, and we have to do this and we have to do that, and it's got to be 2 years, I don't think there's got to be anything as far as as far as I'm concerned. It's what we agree is the 5 of us. And we ain't all going to agree. I mean, it's no doubt there's going to be some discontent.
That's basically
So-
the 1% versus the rest of the population.
You keep saying this
Yeah,
1%.
I believe.
That's your assumption.
I believe it's far greater than 1% of the
I do as
population
well.
that want us to go to a more workable solution. If it's me, I would propose we go to snow emergency only, and I would not make a recommendation that we go year-round. That's all my own thoughts, so we'll just, however we want to move it forward.
One thing, you mentioned that years ago, it worked. As a street department person, someone that actually goes out and does it, what's your definition of it worked? You're saying it worked.
It did work.
We're talking to, we don't know that it worked.
Well, I guess we were on the council making those decisions at the time.
Yeah, that's the
so-
reason why we changed it,
Okay,
because we were in a budget crunch and we were looking at some savings.
okay.
And if you want to call Ben up and ask him why we did some of it, Ben and Joe are going to do what the council tells them to do.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And that's why I went and talked to Ben and got his thoughts for a compromise, and he said this is the best compromise that
But
would
he
work.
also told me that it needed to be year-round if we were going to do it.
That was Joe's recommendation.
Well, Joe's, yes.
Ben, do you have an estimate of over the last how many years that the no parking has been in place that we could put a dollar amount? Because I look at, measurable results. Is there a dollar amount that we could say based on the events that we've had and not estimating futures, what
Right.
that looks like?
That's where the 15 came up with.
Okay.
That's kind of been the average on our lower snowfall years. The first couple years I was here, we were plowing twice a week the entire winter. So I didn't use that as our basis, so I kind of went with 15 has been the average over the last 3. That's a safe number to use.
So you guesstimate, and of course, there's gonna be different people in different trucks over the last few years too, but
Yep,
$4,500 times 3 years that we've done it, we're going into the 4th year.
right.
So we've saved
18 grand if you did it at 4 years at 4,500.
We're saving 3 years' value in 1 year. Or, excuse me, of no, versus no restrictions.
Right, yep. Our biggest challenge is there's spots in town where when people are allowed to park on both sides of the street whenever they want, they'll park right across from each other. And as soon as you get a windrow on both sides of those cars, they're already 2 feet closer out in the street. And there's times where your wing is up and you still can't fit between the 2 cars with a 12-foot blade on the truck. So that's what drove this originally. That was one of the factors. Pine and Birch, that area is notoriously bad for this. I know they don't have a lot of off-street parking, which is why they park on the street, but that's definitely the challenge that we faced. And then we would get a lot of complaints because the windrows are out on the street, they're around cars, they melt, they freeze. It's not a good, in my opinion, it's not a good job done, but we can't get it off the street when the cars never move. Or when there's 20 cars and they're all on different work schedules, I respect that, but when they never move out of the way, at the same time, we can't effectively clean that snow up. So that's where if we went to odd even parking, at least we could get one side to the curb clean, and the next day we could hit the other side and keep it clean curb to curb. If we go back to no restrictions at all, it's gonna be a real struggle to keep the streets looking respectable. That will be my challenge, and I promise you that it won't look as good as it does now. The other side of it is, day one is always plowing, day two is always hauling. So we have to windrow everything, like St. Clair Lewis, especially from East Street to Standard Iron. You have to take all the sidewalk snow, all the road snow, it goes in the middle of the road. Well, before winter parking restrictions, the downtown parking stops at Pine Street. So then we'd have people parking on St. Clair Lewis from Pine Street, headed east, like by the church and by those houses. And when you get two cars parked like this, across from each other, we can't, I mean, we're driving big dump trucks, loaders, and graders through these streets in the middle of the night. Two cars screw that up immensely. And then there's a lot of snow left behind because you're working around these vehicles, you can only get so close. And then there's not a good time because as soon as those cars leave for the day, everybody's going to work, so you can't, all you can do is push it back off the road and it ends up back on the sidewalk. So those are my challenges. I'm willing to work with whatever you guys want to do, but if we go to no parking, our quality is going to go down, and I don't like that.
Our quality will go down even with the odd even, the calendar parking.
It'll present more of a challenge, there's no doubt.
Yes.
Yep, but at least it gives me the opportunity to get to that side of the street with no cars on it, if we go that way.
Warren, do you have that sheet of the streets where they're,
Yeah.
I didn't get that.
Oh, didn't get that.
I don't
Okay.
think any of us got that sheet.
Okay. This is what,
That list of streets is, what we're just doing is expanding what we call the congested district,
yes.
which we always call around the horn, where they do these couple blocks downtown. It just extends that out a little bit in each direction. So when he talks about St. Clair, just continue it further and a couple more blocks and that add on to that, what we call the congested district in town. I know it sounds like a long list, but we would probably have to update the table in our ordinance to include those streets. In addition to, I think, 8th, 9th, and Ash.
8th, 9th, and Ash are on here too, so yeah, there's a lot of streets that would be excluded from the parking in the event of a calendar parking here.
So we're excluding those just to make the process more smoother, easier.
Efficient, safer, and a better job, yes.
Okay, I'll go back to your comment in regards to not being able to plow through those streets on Birch and Pine. I can't believe for 10 years we didn't plow through those streets when there was snow emergencies, when there were cars on both sides. We made it work. Yes, you're right.
When you call this an emergency,
Yeah, we made it work.
right.
So I just want to make sure we understand that we did not plow those streets for all those years. We still plowed them. So I think it's preference, right? I think it's what is a person's preference. You know, that's my opinion. I mean, it isn't that the streets were terrible for the last 20 years, except for the last 5 when we went to this route. You were on the board, council with me. We didn't complain about this every day, every year. It's just how we went.
Oh.
So, I mean, it isn't that it was terrible. And that's what I'm hearing is it was bad and we just had to go, no parking. I don't see it that way.
Joe, you got comments?
Well, so I looked at the winter parking rules for some of them, and I didn't go into their ordinances. I just did a Google search for each city and what the Google AI popped up and said, so hopefully these are all accurate. But, so St. Cloud does have the odd even parking from November to April 1st. Waite Park's got no winter parking, November to April 1st from 2 to 7. Same with St. Joe. Avon's got no parking when there's more than 2 inches of snow accumulation regardless of time of day. So if they get more than 2 inches, there's no on-street parking, which I guess would be your snow emergency event. Albany's 1.5 inches. Freeport's no parking with a snowfall trigger of more than 1/10 of an inch. Melrose is just no downtown business parking, and then Osakis has no parking. So I mean, that's, gives you an idea of what's going on around us, but at the end of the day, it's still what fits for us. I would say what we've been doing the last 4 years with the no winter parking has worked. We've seen it. We've had nice streets in that aspect of clean, efficient work for our street department and everything. So we know that's working. When we put this in place, you know, the snow emergency rules that were in place prior to that, I think, you know, I grew up in the country. We, you know, didn't have rules to worry about with this, but it's felt like a common sense thing, like, hey, it's snowing, get off the street. Well, it doesn't work that way. So we can't rely on that. You know, people just use their best judgment on some of those things. So I don't think that's the route to go, is to go to, you know, no restriction and call snow emergency. The calendar parking does seem like a good compromise. We can see how it works, some of those things, but at the end of the day, you know, is that, I don't know if it's the right approach to take necessarily here at this point either, because we're trying to appease them and, you know, the lesser of evils as far as letting our street department continue to do as best as they can. I don't know that there's a good answer, but that's usually what compromise is, right? You know, give a little on each side. So.
Main thing is we are all going to agree to disagree on this situation.
Absolutely.
And the same with the community. You know, if we knew we were going to come into office and please everybody 100% in this town, you better find a different place to go, because you got higher callings than sitting here. It was changed, like Ben said, because he came in and he could see that things could be streamlined. Money could be saved. We're talking taxpayer dollars. And just because we did it for years doesn't make it right. You know, change, nothing's wrong with change. But when it's, to me, a step backwards, then it's not a change for the good. We're basically telling our street department, well, you've done a great job for the last 5 years, but now we're going to tell you to do a halfway job. I could say another word, but I won't.
I mean, Ben, your opinion, like how do you feel about either of those two options as far as what you see from, you know, overseeing the group, what you see when you're out in the field doing this, and then what your guys feel like? I mean, what's the perspective on that stuff?
Well, that's what first sparked this whole conversation, was talking to the guys that are plowing regularly. And they said that their biggest challenge is when the cars crowd in on you and you can't fit down the road. I mean, it's stressful enough already plowing around vehicles, and it's that tight. So then they can't even go down those roads, and then we have to send a separate pickup truck just to plow through those areas. That just didn't really make sense to me that we should be doing that. So that's what started this whole thing to get going. I mean, I'm not in favor of just letting it go to park wherever you want, whenever you want. It was a big mess for us, and it wasn't easy to deal with. We dealt with it, of course, and got it done, but it doesn't mean it was the most efficient or the best way to do it. I am definitely open to the calendar parking if it means not losing this entirely, because then we can still do a respectable job with this and still have space for our plows to operate and room for things to move. So that's kind of where I'm at.
So you and your team would be comfortable with the calendar parking with
Yes.
the, you know, restrictions as they're laid out here as far as no parking on those roads and everything?
Right, yep.
When I lived on Pine Street, for the first couple years that this was enforced, and we parked mainly in front of our house, I voted for this because I appreciated and understood how difficult it was, having driven those roads for years when it was not plowed. I mean, it was plowed, but you're dealing with the cars, and then 2 days later, you're still cleaning up, and you're still cleaning up, and you're dealing with ice chunks, and you're dealing with the mess just compounds throughout the year. What I've seen from people, my neighbors at the time, who had to park off-street in their in their front yards, the worst it got was in the spring, when stuff starts to thaw. And we made the decision originally from December 1st till March 31st, I believe. So April 1st, it was lifted. Is there an option that we just shorten the season, where we call the snow emergencies in November if it happens, and the snow emergencies in March if it happens, but December, January, February, when we get the most of our snow, we continue on with the no parking?
I think the one thing is, I know what you're talking about, but I think even during the months that we would have it, we're still gonna have a snow emergency. Even if they're parked on the odd side of the street or the even side of the street, and we get 6 inches of snow, we're gonna call a snow emergency, and they're gonna have to find a place to park.
Well, and that's totally fine, but give your yard a chance to rebound if we don't have a snow
The
emergency.
only problem I got there is if you drive around town right now, at least a half a dozen of them are parked in their yard now with for sale signs on the windshield, and they're parking everything else in their yards, and they don't worry about it then. But now we're supposed to be worried about their spring yard looking bad.
It will be difficult in that pine birch ash area, and after all the road construction that we just had, all their boulevards and driveways are mud. It's any seeding done, throw it out the window.
Yep.
It's gone. That's on us then, because we have that restriction.
Right. But if we call a snow emergency, then it's totally clear. There's not a just because event. We call a snow emergency, everybody's off the street, irregardless.
So our current snow emergency is anything more than 2 inches? Or what is it?
Well, that's the minimum threshold, but it's just up to us when we
Right.
want to call it, when we need to.
Because if we don't scrape 2 inches off, it turns into ice.
Yep.
And then in the spring, then you're gonna run around and try to clean up around cars with the belly blades, taking the slush and the ice off. And that's more cost. I'm not saying it's not bad to revisit this, or revisit it. I just think the reasoning is not there on a cost basis.
So Ben, you're saying your guys can make it work, the odd and even, if that's what,
If that's what
The
you decide,
direction.
yes. Yep.
and are you saying that we have to go year-round and we have to do it for 2 years?
That was Joe's.
Okay, that's Joe that says we have to.
I didn't say we have to, I said we can't keep changing this.
Okay.
Like, you know what I'm saying, we just can't, it's not fair to citizens to keep changing, in my point of view.
Right.
Stick with it, whatever we choose, I think we should stick with it for a period of time, get a feel for it. That's what I'm into that.
Okay, but doesn't it, so you're referencing, to me, snow emergency is winter, right? I mean, that's, no parking, I guess that's.
We're getting the 48-hour thing confused with the winter parking. We're
I'm
trying
not
to
getting
tie
it confused.
No, I mean, we're trying to tie it together.
Yeah, you're trying to address two issues.
Right.
I'm personally talking about snow emergency routes or snow winter parking. That's why I think they're two different items.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
A quick question, Vicky, as it would relate to our existing, downtown business or congested districts with the no parking. So is this going to take an ordinance amendment for these other streets, or is that something we just include with this?
That if we adopt an ordinance here, you can address those and we'll include them in this ordinance.
Okay,
What that would basically do is update the table.
okay.
The one thing is we had tried that standard iron to East Street once before. And we ended up changing it back to the way it was because there was a lot of people that didn't like it because,
I think what gets messy there is we don't necessarily need that to be year-round, the congested district, the additions.
Yeah.
I just need that for winter.
Yep.
right. But in the winter, we had done that, and then we changed it back.
Well, I think we did that when we passed this, but I think we encompassed it for a year round and we didn't have it specified for just those months, I think was the issue we had at that time, right? When those complaints were brought forward in those neighborhoods or those streets.
Can we just address the winter parking, or do we have to tie your 48 hours in, or can we bring that at another discussion?
You can do it either way, you know, we're actually talking about the restricted winter parking schedule.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if you do the odd even here and you want it year-round, then that's the
That's
other
a whole
ordinance
separate-
that has
That's a
the
separate
the
issue.
All right.
year-round.
I just want to make sure we're talking winter, not year-round. Thanks.
I think one of the issues we had with snow emergencies, and we did that for many years, was like the 2-inch or the 2.5-inch. People in their minds aren't thinking that's enough to be off the street. Whereas if you have an 8-inch or a 10-inch snowplow, everybody's really good. They know they have to move, but if it's 2 to 3 inches, they're like, it wasn't that much, and they stay there, and that's where we really have the problems with it, than the big events. And we can still call an emergency on a big event, no matter what we do.
That's very true. I mean, I agree with you 100%. It was challenging during the, more minimum snowfall is more challenging than it
Because
was.
usually it's Vicky, Ben, and I that decide if there's gonna be a snow emergency. So, that's just the perks of the office.
Whatever.
But it's, so if I decide to sue it, I can talk to these guys and do it. And then that means everybody's off the street. Because that's what the snow emergency is all about. So. I'm gonna make a motion that it's, stays the same as what we've been doing. And no change to the ordinance. Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Motion dies for lack of a second.
I'll make a motion, we go to the odd even calendar parking.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Brad.
Can I ask a question for clarification? Does that
Yep.
include the added streets that were?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
The congested district, yes.
I was gonna ask that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 4 in favor, 1 against. Another question. Now, even though we passed this, and I should have mentioned it sooner, when's the enforcement start? Because usually by the middle of November, we were putting warning tags on people's cars telling them that they couldn't park on the street.
Well, I think the
Now we
only,
just changed the rules
I
again.
think our dates were December 1st through March 31st here.
So are we gonna
We
give
didn't
them
amend
2
that.
weeks on odd even and get them used to it, or should we do it start now?
I think the only thing we're striking is item B.
No, I think he's talking about the education part of it. We
Education
just give
part.
people a notice on
Get
their
'em.
car, like in, middle of November, saying, hey,
Gotcha.
just to make you aware.
What we normally do is we print out, like on a brightly colored paper, and
Yeah.
overnight when people are there that would otherwise be in violation, we put that in their windshield. It gives them a heart attack at first, because I think they're getting a ticket, where really it is just education.
So I was just asking, are we gonna leave it the same, give them the same 2 weeks, or are you gonna give them a month?
I think 2 weeks is sufficient. I mean, if that's what we did before, just do the same thing. It's just the odd even. And if we gave them notice when we had no winter parking 2 weeks in advance, I mean, do the same thing with odd even, make them aware, and then it's on them to take the challenge of remembering what day of the week it is, whether it's an odd or even day, because if I didn't work in the bank, I don't think I could tell you what the day was that day sometimes, so.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Be consistent from what we did in the past.
Okay.
2 weeks, that's my
So,
thoughts.
Joe, we'll do that. The guys will be back to in and out of their cars a lot,
Yep.
but Okay, move on. Unfinished business, annexation of property.
The request has been sent to the owner of the property on County 112 that is subject of the annexation due to the utility hookup. And the request is to ask them to sign the petition. This avenue of annexation is a much simpler process and it takes a lot less time. So that's out there right now. If they do not want a petition, then we'll go through additional procedures. And this has to do with them hooking up to utilities, which requires you to be in the city limits. So that's just kind of an update on that.
Okay, any questions about that? Okay, deferred assessments on County Road 112.
Also related to that, on County Road 112, back when the water and sewer lines were put down that road many years ago, there were deferred assessments against those township parcels. And then when they wanted the service, they were to pay the assessment at that time when they came into the city. Now 20 years have lapsed and there's 6 properties that have not come into the city yet. And we met with the members of the PUC board today, and they're recommending that the balance, the outstanding balance is $66,979.11. The PUC has offered to pay half of that back to the city because we fronted that money originally. And then the city, our balance of $33,000 plus change, we can elect either to keep it as deferred against those parcels to some future date when they come in, or we can write that off. That's up to us. But their offer is that the public utility would pay half of those assessments on behalf of those owners. And so that's the 6 remaining parcels that are in the township on that road that we have water and sewer service lines run to. And so, I mean, I don't really need to have an action tonight. I mean, I did, because this is kind of new information for you. If you like that offer and think that's good, then we can pull forward or move forward. But if you want additional time to consider it, I can bring it back at the next meeting as well.
I think the recommendation from the policy committee as far as the PUC paying half of it, I think that should be accepted. And personal opinion, the other half should be put against the lot, so whenever they sell, we get our money back.
I would agree.
You know, what happened in that paperwork jumbo, I have no idea where it disappeared to. It was always on our books, but on the Water and Lights books, it disappeared.
So you said that put against the lots and paid when they sell. I mean, we can't assess those to the lot specifically if they're in the township yet. We just
We
continue to
can't
hold them
do it in the
deferred.
township, but the only way, if their water or sewer fails,
So when they would connect in and then
We'd
we
have
annex
to.
them in, then they're due it, but not, it's not like,
think
you
if
know,
they
they
sell-
could sell the property 8 times type of thing, right? Because
that's the reason why we're looking at the annexation.
you're going to annex all the properties over there or just the one that is hooked up right now?
Currently, we're working with the one.
Just the one?
The public utility was recommending we annex the whole bunch in, but I don't
Okay.
have that here
Annex that
yet.
whole corner in.
Right now, we're just talking about the half that the public
Yeah.
utility was gonna reimburse
Yeah.
us for. I think that second part is a bigger
Yeah,
question.
not to crack.
But I think you're right, Joe. If it can sell, but if today
Right.
they could sell.
Because it's
then-
still in the township until that point.
Right. What we're trying to get away from is that the PUC's got it right now that there's houses on Lake Shore Drive that are still not hooked up. Because they never required them to hook up. And as long as they're well and everything is working fine, they don't need to. So we gotta get the policies cleared up a little bit so there's no gray areas anymore. I know
I will
everybody.
tell you, at least in the years that I've been here, whenever we've done a deferred assessment, it has an end date. Either your septic fails and you hook up, your well fails and you hook up, you sell your lot, you pay or you pay, or you sell the lot, you pay, or 10 years goes by, or there's some end date rather than these going on forever ones. But there's some old stragglers out there yet.
Because there was never an end date put on anything. So, general consensus as far as accepting the PUC's offer on the half, and then we bring the assessment part to the council on an agenda item?
Makes sense to me. I would think, yeah, we accept their half and then, yeah, we decide what to do with the rest of it later.
Yeah,
I concur.
okay. 8C, outstanding credits / payments for Birch Pine project.
After we had the public hearing at the last minute, or at the last meeting, I had a couple people come forward and say, well, we did our sidewalk and we didn't get a credit. And I'm like, well, we didn't know you did your sidewalk. But thanks to Google Earth and the filming that Stantec did of every inch of that project before they started, there was a couple brand-new sidewalks out there that we were unaware of. And so at 727 Birch Street South and 733 Birch Street South, we're looking to give 30 feet of sidewalk credit to the first one and 85 feet of sidewalk credit to the other one. And so this would come off of the assessment balance that is owed when we certify that to the county. And then there's another one where we knew that there was some sprinkler damage. She brought in her paid bill, and also the concrete for the driveway from the sidewalk up to their house. There was a section there that we had reported, that our inspector noticed it, went back the next day, but by then the owner had already taken it out and said they'll report if we provide the concrete. So they did, and so that's the cost of the concrete for that pour to get reimbursed to them. So what I have is actually 4 items. 2 are credits for sidewalk, and the other one is to reimburse an owner for sprinkler repairs and concrete repour. So that concrete repour and sprinkler repairs is like $652, and then the other 2 are $698 and $1980 respectively. So we're looking to approve these credits, and then the second one would actually be a reimbursement because they've already paid those costs.
Questions, concerns?
Obviously, they didn't apply for a permit to do
Right.
sidewalks.
That's the ironic part.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have to be doing this if they would have applied for a permit and we would have known that.
Yep.
So,
They each kind of blamed, no, the one homeowner blamed the other homeowner because they tagged under there, and that homeowner blamed the contractor.
so what is the council's wishes? Approve the credits and the reimbursement as presented, or something else?
I guess the one question on the sprinkler repairs, I mean, was that damage done outside of that right-of-way area that they?
It was outside of the
introduced?
right-of-way, it was into their yard a little bit
Okay.
when they went in to put the curb stop in.
Okay. I guess oh, sorry.
The homeowner removed the stuff in the boulevard, but left it along the inside of their sidewalk.
Okay, so it shouldn't have been,
Which,
so shouldn't have expected that to happen then.
Yep.
So I would recommend approving the credit and the reimbursements as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Brad. Any other discussion? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. New business, SCDP grant for housing rehab.
So the EDA had previously recommended that when a new round of SCDP, which is the Small Cities Development Program, grants are released, that the city apply for a grant for owner-occupied housing rehab. The grant would be passed on to property owners for renovations to homes for things like siding, windows, heating. The maximum available per household is $25,000. Deed announced the program had been funded, and the pre-application is due on November 25th. If selected, a full application will be due in February, and then we would get notification of award in spring of 2026. Again, the maximum award for a single-purpose grant, which this is $600,000. In addition, and one other thing that we did add was if you need to replace your water service line, if it's lead or galvanized, that it would be an eligible expense as well. So Central Minnesota Housing Partnership, I reached out to them and they've agreed to administer the in-the-field part, going in the homes, doing, the asbestos, lead, all those kinds of things that they have to do, and also work with the contractors. And so we have them in line. I'm working with a grant specialist at Stantec to finalize the application. We also have to indicate need, and it has to do with our low and moderate income thresholds and the incomes of the individuals. So we sent out a letter to all the homestead parcels in town with, within a certain range of value with a survey. And if we get enough of those back indicating they would be interested, then that gives us more points on our application. We did send out up to $150,000 value of building value of a homesteaded property. And then we have additional thresholds if we want to go up to 175 or 200 or whatever we want to do depending on how many applications we get back. So we have that in the works. We hope to be able to apply. The EDA didn't have a meeting last month because we didn't have a quorum, so I kind of took this step based on their recommendation this spring. So, sorry, Joe and Heidi. So this is just kind of information. Application is in process, but if anybody out there receives one of those survey letters from the city, or something in a city envelope, it's not a bill, please open it. And
How many did you send
maybe you'll be
out?
lucky enough to get that.
About how many letters did you send out, do you know?
We sent out this first batch about 200.
Nice.
Okay, any other questions about that? Then we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $643,893.89. Paid claims of $1,500 for a total of $645,393.89. September checks, paid claims / payroll, $1,567,428.80. We have a gambling application for exempt permit request from Holy Family School for a raffle on December 17th, 2025 at Holy Family School. Is there any questions about the consent agenda as presented? Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against. We have no informational items. That brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Motion by Brad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Scott. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 5 in favor, none against, meeting adjourned.